Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
This live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Right, greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel
Hey, welcome back again, everyone, to Live Talk.
and the spiritual ambassador, Yike Ezekiel.
Peace. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer.
General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando.
All right, welcome back, family. We had to get that out of the way. My brothers, how are you doing today, Minister?
Doing great. Always great to wake up to the sunshine and let it bring joy to the day.
Brother Yike Ezekiel.
Magnificent, as the brother said, being able to embark on another day makes you one step closer to my goals.
Indeed. And I say I'm truly blessed and deeply favored. So I hope that our family out there is feeling just as grand as we are. We're going to give you a quick rundown of the show today. First, we're going to have the minister word up today. Right after that, we'll go to a commercial break. And then we'll go to our main topic. Our main topic today is Mind Matters, mental health, healing, and the next generation of psychology. We're going to be interviewing a student today that's going to school for psychology. So stay tuned. And we look forward to that. And then right after that, we're going to go to another commercial break. And then we may transition right after that to go into what's on our brother Yike Ezekiel's mind. And then we get ready to conclude with a reading or a quote from the host. So with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
All right, and going with our topic, the word of today for May 16th, 2026 is going to be healing. Healing. And healing is defined as the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. Healing, to make free from injury or disease, to make whole. It is to make well again, to restore to health, to patch up or correct. Healing is to restore to the original purity or integrity. It is the process in which a bad situation or painful emotion ends or improves. And some synonyms are rehabilitate, cure, fix, treat, and back to normal. Word of today, healing.
Right, my brother, healing. We're going to be talking about a lot of that today because we are in month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month. So thank you for that word of the day, my brother. We're going to go to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit noystore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at noystore.com. What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right. Welcome back, family. In May, we are in the month of May, and the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And today we're having a conversation that a lot of our community is finally becoming more open to. It's mental health. For years, we were taught to push through pain, stay strong, and keep moving. But now, more people are realizing that healing matters too. Because healing was our word of the day. And so we're going to be talking about that a lot. So today we're talking with Jeremiah Scott from the next generation of mental health professionals, a college student studying psychology and preparing to become a psychologist. He is also a son of a proud mom and father. He is a self-proclaimed guitarist, but most importantly, he is a God-fearing young man as well. So welcome to the show, my dear beloved son.
Hello. Thank you for welcoming me. Yeah.
Yes, sir, indeed. So first off, let's tell the audience, let's get a little comfortable. Tell the audience a little bit of something about yourself.
All right. So my name is Jeremiah Israel Scott. I'm currently studying psychology at UCF. And just a little disclaimer, as I've already said, I am a student, so I'm not a professional psychologist or therapist. So anything that I say is either due to past research or from just knowledge that I've learned from my education thus far. But yeah, so currently I'm studying at UCF psychology. I also play guitar from time to time here and there. And yeah, with my interests are.
Okay. Do we got a clip of him playing guitar? He's a pretty good guitarist, y'all. I'm telling you. If we don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll try to bring it up a little later. It seemed like that's that music part.
Yeah.
I don't know how you kind of got involved with that. That's kind of really been your hobby, right? And you
Yeah.
put a lot of interest into that.
Yeah, it's been for about 3 years now. It's going on 4, I think, in October.
Okay.
So yeah, I still remember I called my mom and I told her, I was like, I'm interested in guitar. I want to pick up guitar. I was like, I really hope you stick with that. And 3 years later, I'm still going.
And see, we can talk about that a little further because music can be therapy. So that all ties in. So we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go deep into it. So was psychology, was it always like your plan, or did you have anything else in plan?
No, it wasn't. At first, it was strange because I was like really interested in law. And I remember we used to go over those law terms. I still have that book, How to Get into Law School. It's always in my car. yeah, I was interested in law and I was interested in being an attorney. But then going down that path, I was like, I don't know if I want to be an attorney. I just don't think that fits me. When I really looked into it, so I was like, it shifted to me wanting to or being interested in being a tax attorney. I think that was 11th grade year in high school.
Okay, yeah.
11, maybe entering 12. But I remember basically I was going through stress and which you had gave me a book. I think it was called Truth versus Spirituality or was it Illusion? Truth
True.
versus Illusion. Gave me that book and that was when it really struck into my mind that whatever you're going through internally, you can really study it and create more of a positive energy inside of yourself. So I was like, I'm interested in this. And when I looked into it more, it pointed me towards the field of psychology. So I was like, if I can really learn how to deal with myself internally and deal with others internally, then that would be an interesting field for me to pick up.
Okay. So what? And then I let my brothers jump in here because I just want to get you a little comfortable. Just want to know a little personal side of why you got into it. I'm glad you shared that. So what's college life like studying psychology?
So far, at Valencia, it was pretty all right. At UCF so far, I feel like I haven't reached that max yet because I haven't gotten as involved as I wanted to. But so far, studying it at UCF, I'm learning because they're putting me more into psychology fields. When I was at Valencia, before I transferred, at Valencia, they gave me more general classes. But now that I'm at UCF, they're putting me more into psychology classes, and I want to get involved. Like I'm going to apply over the summer to get involved with the psychological society at UCF. So that's so far that's what I look into. And then internships, I was talking with my advisor. So far on the starting position, it seems really good. Like I'm really enjoying.
Okay. I would swing to my co-host and I let them kind of chime in right here.
So now that you are enrolled in school and studying psychology, what's the number one thing that used to be a myth that you have been dispelling since learning?
Mm, good thought. I feel like a good myth. Maybe it's more of a self belief thing. I think it's in one of the questions too. When someone's going through something, something stressful or painful, and you give them that sort of toxic positivity where you're like, say they're eating the most disgusting food ever, and you're like, well, there's starving people all over the world. That's not necessarily going to put them in a situation where now they're grateful. At least with some people, it may put them in that, or it may still leave them in that stressful situation. It's like, okay, I'm stressing, and you're telling me you're invalidating my stress in a sort of way.
Or was there a certain class like that you're taking right now that changed your perspective?
You like,
Because you have
think,
different classes that you take in psychology.
yeah,
Like, so like, is there a certain class that you currently take that kind of stands out to you that kind of helps you or guides you when it comes to furthering your education?
I feel like right now, the best class I've taken so far was biological anthropology. I really like that class. I didn't think I was gonna, but yeah, it basically talks about our evolution from millions and millions of years ago into the Homo sapiens that we are now. And I feel like that, like even though it's not really heavy into psychology, I feel like it has a lot of psychological concepts within it and take from it. But so far, yeah, I feel like more down my path, I might have that one class that might help me, but or not might help you, might put me on a track where it's like, okay, this is crazy. This might change my whole psychological game. So yeah.
Right, Minister, you?
Yeah, Jeremiah, a couple questions. I know you started already at Valencia, now you're at UCF. How long have you been studying psychology? And then how much longer do you have in that program?
So I've been studying for about 3 to 4 years right now. I believe I graduate either early next year or throughout the summer. So I got about a year and a couple of months. And then I was talking to my mother about my master degree, and she was like, "Yeah, it's probably wise if I could do that now while I'm living at home." So I was looking into my master degree, and that would take another 2 years. So about 3 more years, at least at UCF, and then beyond UCF, I'm not entirely sure so far. I'm not even sure if I want to complete my master's degree entirely at UCF yet, but it's like right now, it's like headed towards that path.
Well, and I want to say this because I know you've been studying, you've been in it for a long time, and I heard you make a comment that you are a student, and I definitely very much so appreciate that. But you've been studying it, so you've probably been getting exposed to a lot of information.
Mm.
Hopefully, you can share some of that with us today. And a comment I would like to make is the difference, other than getting a certification or the licensing, the
Yeah,
difference between being a professional and not is when you're getting paid. Professionals get paid. If you could be given the same information, if you're not getting paid,
yeah.
you're not a professional. But it comes with not just the experience, but it also comes with the knowledge. And I know I hear psychology, but if you can enlighten us a little bit, like I know you're studying psychology, but I also hear therapy. I know they're similar, but they're different. If
Yeah.
could you share, um, can
So,
you share a little bit about that?
yes, sir. So, psychology, that's like a whole domain. It has like you take a circle and then you break it into like thousands and thousands of pieces. That's basically, well, not thousands and thousands, it was like hundreds of pieces. That's basically psychology, and therapy is one of those pieces. So with therapy, that basically that's just dealing with someone who's going through a mental health crisis in a way. And yeah, just having that one-on-one discussion with them, seeing what sort of I don't believe, I could be wrong. I don't believe therapists really prescribe. I think that's more psychiatrists. But yeah, therapist is dealing within that mental health field where you're just talking one on one, trying to get this person to live a more positive life.
Hmm. So who would be kind of like an ideal person, like that would need psychologist versus therapy, a therapist?
So a psychiatrist, I believe that's more like, how do I describe it? That's more up the scale. When you're talking to a therapist, you're just basically going through like whether your just life problems in general.
Okay.
Whereas a psychiatrist, that's where you probably have a mental health
Got some
condition,
serious issue.
yeah, within your mind. So you probably need to prescribe or yeah, ascribe something.
Okay. Makes sense.
So you're saying a psychologist is a person that basically is a higher level than a therapist due to the severity of the mental issues that the patient may have.
Well, I say it depends on that psychiatrist, or psychologist, but a psychiatrist, yeah, they deal in an entirely different domain. So they're dealing with, I believe, more upscale or potentially more dangerous clients, whereas a therapist, he's dealing with, just personal issues that is going on with
The everyday
life.
person.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that was centered around his question, because that's in my opinion, seems like it's more higher upper scale when you're talking about psychology. I mean, psychiatry dealing with someone with some serious mental issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can have the day-to-day person like myself, that may just need, somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Minister.
And I'll add to that because that was I'm glad how he broke that down where like he put the circle and therapy is a part of it. And we talking specifically in our community because one of the stigmas is we don't need therapy. We don't need psychiatrists because someone could need therapy, but that same person that need therapy, I know a psychiatrist is actually going to be a doctor because he can prescribe drugs
Yeah.
because they may need it. And we're getting better, but I like even with some of the students, you may even see we have a tendency, and that's why I'm glad you're into the field. Our culture has kind of steered away from psychiatry, therapy, and I just hate to say it out loud. We want to self-medicate, but that's not a good answer. And I don't know, Jeremiah, if you want to say like,
Mhm.
people like to pretend they don't have a problem, so you can get a drink or you can get a smoke
Yeah,
and temporarily make those problems go away. But that don't mean they going away.
actually, in
That's
some
not fixing it. Psychiatry deals with actually healing it, correct?
yep.
But you was about to say something. Sometimes it does what?
Sometimes in some situations that just makes it worse. Not only are you putting that stress on your internal organs physically, but you're also mentally. So you're like double suffering.
Yeah, because it's like a temporary solution.
Hmm.
But then you back to reality again.
Yeah,
You're dealing with the same situations now as you start to drink more. Like you say, now it's affecting you health wise.
yep.
Not only just your mental health, but your physical health. So that is something that we have to think about. And I'm glad you brought that up, Minister, because just pivot, a little bit and talk about mental health in the Black community. Mental health conversations are becoming more common now, but for a long time in our community, people didn't really talk about it at all. Um, Now I know you haven't been around long as we have. We done
Yeah.
seen some stuff. But from where you are, I know you done did some research and some studies. I don't know how deep you have gotten as far right now,
Yeah.
as far as your education. But when it comes to like mental health, do younger generations view mental health differently? Or like what you have seen in the industry, like based off of what, some old school people may say versus nowadays?
Yeah, I believe more younger people are actually doing more research into it, whereas older people they might have grown up off of a belief, and through that belief they just constantly pass that down. Yeah, so I definitely like the younger generation approach when it comes to studying and getting familiar and actually knowing, or at least getting close to knowing, than rather passing down your beliefs or just trying to be as stoic as you can.
I just go, that's to stimulate the conversations, just asking you brothers, like when it comes like the mental health to try to get them just more engaged in where we looked at mental health and seeing it in our community. And I'll start because, you know, we're like the minister is probably the elder on the show, but just going back, and just seeing my mother and how she, how coming out of, post slavery, centered around Jim Crow. I think we were somewhat involved around Jim Crow too, and I think some of those laws are still in place. But just thinking about that, that's that post, what is it, PSTD, post traumatic stress
PTSD.
disorder.
Yeah, PSP.
Yeah. So coming up out of that, it's still like a lot of that weighed in on us at that time. And we've seen a lot of that and we experienced a lot of that. And just sharing, brothers, like what have you experienced and what have you seen maybe your mother or maybe someone in your family kind of experienced from a mental health standpoint that that's kind of brought mental health to your awareness?
Well, for myself, I'm dealing with a mental health crisis as we speak
Mm.
because I have a nephew that has serious mental problems, yet they won't give him the help he needs.
It's live.
And trying to reach him is hard because his mind is constantly running. He's not stable enough for you to just sit down and dialogue with. They put him on all these types of drugs from a young age, and it creates that short attention span to where he can't sit and listen long. He got to move. He stay agitated. And, trying to help him through some type of just day-to-day therapy is almost an impossible task. So looking into trying to get some type of psychologist to be able to speak with him to get to the root of the problem, to help him understand why his mind is thinking in the manner that it is. Because once you be able to discover what the catalyst to your behavior is, now you can begin to transition to coming up with a solution for it to get you out of that particular mental state. But the roadblock is his parents. They don't believe in the therapy or psychologists. As I alluded to earlier, it is the stigma of the Black community that, oh, if you engage with a therapist, you got to be crazy.
Right.
Mhm.
And not understanding when we're suppressing our emotions, especially Black men, we are not taught from a young age how to deal with our emotions. Everybody has emotions, but if you do not know how to properly apply them, then you may do it in a manner that's detrimental to yourself and everybody around you. You know, you can become irate, you can become angry, and if you don't know how to channel that in a positive manner, then you may lash out and somebody may lay hurt, maimed, or dying, all because you didn't know how to control that. And nobody wanted to give you help, especially at a young age. They'll just say, oh, that boy, he always throwing temper tantrums, or he just stay mad. But you're not trying to help me understand why I'm in this state of mind and what needs to be done to overcome it.
Yep.
So we have to come up with a method to be able to destroy the concept that therapy or seeing a psychologist is not beneficial or helpful to everybody, because everybody has stress, especially in our communities, you know, from the economic standpoint to the relationship standpoint. We have triggers that can keep us in a place where we do need to speak to somebody to help us work through this right here. You know, I recently had a situation where somebody died and the grief led to depression. And we know when a person becomes depressed, their mind begins to beat them up. Everything that's flowing through their thoughts is on a negative polarity, and it keeps them in that state. And this is how people stay in a depressed mindset for years. And now it affects every aspect in every area of their life because they're functioning on a lower level because of their thoughts. And they don't know how to come out, and then they don't want to seek professional help because they don't want anybody to think that they crazy.
I mean, to your point, minister. I'm a swing back to you, but just to that point there, why do you think mental health was or is ignored in our community, like amongst us, like
Uh,
based on what he was just sharing?
To be honest, to approach that, because that's something that's like, I believe I also had to do further research and to get into those people's. But
Okay.
yeah, when it comes to that point, it's really weird that a parent would do that to their child, tell the child, you can't get access to a therapist or psychologist, deal with it.
Let me ask you this then. Like when it comes to therapy, I know like as a people,
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of resources. Like if my income bracket, if I'm bringing in $25,000 a year, I'm barely, getting by, and a therapist gonna cost me, 5,000, then most likely I can't afford one. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I would think that would probably be one of the reasons why And then it kind of goes back to what the ambassador said. A lot of times in our community, because we judge one another a lot of times, and if we feel if there's a need for therapy or something of that nature,
Yeah.
then you're considered or you're called crazy. Or that's that crazy person, down the street, man. You better stay away from that crazy person.
Yeah.
But truly indeed, they need some type of therapy or some, they're struggling with mental health issues, you know. Minister?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like Jeremiah, like, and I heard Ezekiel mention that. But what about with the youth? What would you? One is what, because it's a lot. What do you think leads to depression, especially amongst young people now? We have a lot of it. What do you think that comes from now? We have a lot of young people dealing with depression.
I believe a lot of it comes from the fact that we are a broken sort of community. And I feel like from like the 90s where y'all were growing up till now, I feel like we've become more antisocial towards one another. But it's also the rise of social media, comparison amongst another, jealousy, judgment. There's no connection out here. It's everyone just trying to, how could I look the best? How could I look the most proper? How could I have XYZ amount of followers and, just be the coolest on the internet? Instead of, actually connecting with one another, we have this, sort of isolation, sort of stigma within our community so far.
Back,
And follow up, and you may or may not have. Have you touched on that yet in your studies?
I
Yet,
haven't.
or
Oh.
that might be upcoming.
Yeah, it's definitely more upcoming because I'm learning back to biological anthropology. Bring that up for an example. As humans, we've always stayed in groups. Like we were always in groups. A singular person being alone from a group was likened into a death sentence, basically. So that means 99% of our just evolution evolving with each other comes from the fact that we always had tight knit communities, and when we have a broken community, especially in modern society, that just leads to a whole collapse, and I believe that leads to a part of the mental health crisis that we're going through right now.
Okay, it seems like we have a comment. Read that comment.
We need conflict resolution programs inside of our communities that are designed to teach our youth how to better deal with conflict.
I like that. Whoever shared that, that was that's a great point. Conflict resolution is a key component to keeping us really together. I remember a time it was at one middle school. It's the first time I ever seen conflict resolution being used in the elementary system, where the principal, not the principal, but the dean who was in charge of the two youth, they brought, and matter of fact, it was one of my nephews, your cousin Marcus. And he got into it with another young man, and both of them, I think, was the bullies in the school. So the two bullies kind of got together. And so I guess they duked it out. But they brought us together, and the parents came in with the child, and the parents came in with the child, and we talked it out, talked about it, and it was a great time, and it was a great moment because I'm one that really believe in conflict resolution, and to see it implemented such as how it was very appreciative. So to the person that made that comment, that's definitely something that we need in our community, and just understanding that. But I think it goes back to mental health though, because you have to be in a mental state of mind to be able to come together and sit down, and be able to reason together. The scriptures say, come, let us reason together. Exactly. And I really believe in our community, understanding that we have mental health issues is the reason why we can't come together and do like something like that as far as a conflict resolution program. So thank you for that comment. That was a great comment. Minister, you was finished following up with your?
That was the follow up on. I got another question, but that was a comment, but that's a follow up. Yes.
Okay. All right. There's a phrase that we used to say back in the days. Because the question I want to ask you is, would you say that we are a stay strong culture? Because back in the days, we used to say one of the things we used to say was, "I'm black and I'm proud." And it was a way to just bring that energy to who we are and to say, like, I don't care about what nobody say, I'm black and I'm proud.
Yeah.
Do you think that we are a strong culture, like, through your studies? And I know, like, and keep in mind, this is your opinion and
Okay.
what you feel based off of what you have studied. So don't think it's got to be a exact perfect question. But based off of what you have seen, whether you with your peers or whom you're around, do you think that we are a stay strong culture?
I definitely do. Like, more than ever right now, I feel like we're stay strong just on a negative end right now. But if we, of course, we're on that positive end, we'd have businesses, we'd have our own companies, we'd have, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we definitely are a stick together, stay strong culture. I think we're probably the most stay strong culture in America. If we really came together, we probably would.
Take over the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's why we still in those poverty positions. The government just can't afford for us to get out of that.
Yeah. And it goes back to mental health.
Mental health.
It goes back to dealing with the mindset. If you grew up in a rural area, then you may function a little different from a person that grew up in a city. You both look alike, but you function differently. Would you agree with that, Minister, Ambassador?
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
sure.
Your environment, remember, children emulate their atmosphere. So according to where I'm raised, I have a stronger proclivity to develop that type of mindset. So if I'm raised around cussing, fussing, and arguing, uh, physical abuse, then I have a greater chance to grow up and begin to exhibit those same qualities as being raised in a house that exhibited soft spokenness, common courtesy, and brought peace to the house. Then I'm more inclined to become that. Remember, children, like everybody, they dance to the melody of the environment. So it's like in our day, perfect example, like I try to tell the younger generation now. In the late 80s, when they created the rap group NWA, NWA brought to the forefront of America the mindset that blacks are gangsters. And with that gangster mentality came a gangster walk, the gangster clothing, the wearing of the gangster hat backwards, and the wearing of the bandanas. So it created its own entity to where every young black male wanted to be one of the members of NWA. And guess what we did? We started wearing the Nikes. We started wearing the LA Kings. We started dressing like our favorite rap group, showing the influence that the music has. So back to you, Jeremiah, with playing the guitar. Music is one of the most influential tools on the human mind. Because think about it, when you're about to engage in any activity, you put on a certain type of music to put you in the mind frame to do that. If you finna go and work out, you put in music that's gonna hype you up, that's gonna get the blood flowing. You wouldn't put in slow songs.
Yeah.
You head to the gym. So it's showing that we have to understand what we're feeding ourselves and why the community youth are being raised and exhibiting a certain type of character. So we have to hold the people in Hollywood accountable. We have to hold our musicians accountable because they're promoting the images. they're promoting the music that's in our households or in our pockets on our phones. So it plays a very important part on the way things are being seen and the mental health of those that's listening to it. Because if you're listening to this music that's saying, sell drugs, rob, kill, pimp women 20 hours out of the day, I mean, this is your morning routine. As soon as you hit your feet hit the floor, you turn on that rap music.
Mhm.
And you're feeding yourself that. And we know mental health is what you think is who you are. So if I'm constantly ingesting the type of music, the type of TV shows, the type of conversations that are not wholesome, that are not good, then don't wonder why I grew up to be a gangster.
Mhm.
That's the diet that I've been eating.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, to go back to your point with the environment, we actually learned in developmental psychology at Valencia. There's this thing called nurturing versus your environment. In the nurture perspective, that's what you mainly get from, your parents versus your environment, to pick up whatever within your environment. And if it's negative, like what you've been saying, then, no matter what the parent has taught, because we oftenly seek communities in which we go into like or which we're comfortable with, no matter what the parents taught at certain times, that kid can be entirely infected by that environment.
And I guess that's where the stigma come in at, because if you, um, because I oftentimes say, sometimes we can be racist or
Yeah.
discriminative amongst ourselves. We can discriminate against one another based off of that notion that you shared. Um, you want to talk a little bit on that, Minister?
Well, actually, I wanted to throw a little twist, and I was going to ask Jeremiah if he can answer this, so speak to it.
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about mental health in our communities specifically. One of the only outreaches that we used to have was the church, and we would go there for counseling and different things,
Yeah.
even if we had a mental health. But that was kind of one of the only things. And in some cases, it can be beneficial, but in others, it may not be so beneficial. Um, and I don't know, can you speak to that in reference to psychology and kind of where we are?
Yeah. So from what I know so far, when it comes to the church and the psychology, the church, it works to a certain extent. It works to the extent that whether you, I don't know, whether a person vents to what they call the priest, they call the priest the father, or they actually, if they start praying and they vent to God, that works to an extent. Like it actually works in a certain way, but it doesn't work all the way to the extent in which psychology could cover.
I guess you're saying.
So,
Go ahead, sir. I'm
so it
sorry.
sounds like it can be helpful
Yeah,
to an extent,
yeah,
but some parts it's not going to be able to deal with the psychology of it,
yeah,
and it could require more.
yeah. Because certain churches they don't necessarily study other parts, of the psyche, so they don't really have access to those parts, so they can't necessarily reach out fully.
So what I'm understanding is
Yeah,
I can go to the church and the church can give me basically therapy.
yeah, in a
But
way.
the church are not psychologists to be able to dig deeper into what my mental issues are because they have never studied that aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what's up. But you made a comment earlier about what we're doing in our communities, or as far as how a child could be raised one way, but when he step out the house, he's immersed in a totally different environment. And I liken that to you're having a garden versus a jungle.
Yeah.
And we know that a garden is something that you have to take the time out to cultivate, to nurture, and to put the work in. Whereas a jungle, all you have to do is just sit back and watch it do what it's naturally created to do. So it's going to have all types of wild vines, weeds, and whatever else grows in that particular area.
Yep.
And I think our communities have become more of a jungle when it comes to mental health than a garden because of the stigma that we don't need to be nurtured mentally. We don't need to help cultivate the emotional development of our children. We just let it naturally grow. And if they grow up with anger issues or they grow up with issues where they don't know how to deal socially with people, or as you alluded to earlier, I grew up with the mindset that if I'm on social media and I don't compare to somebody else on there, I feel shamed or I feel less than. And it makes me begin to become depressed because, oh, I don't get the likes that this person get.
Yeah.
I don't get what they're getting. So we definitely have to change that particular perspective by inserting new information that, yes, mental health, as far as psychologists, is a must in our communities. Because as I spoke earlier, we have a myriad of mental issues just from being who we are in this country.
Yep.
So some problems the church just is not equipped to handle. So when they can take it as far as they can, then we need to get more help.
I think it's a point of being in denial as well, because you'll see a child growing up in a household and, family members, that's used to the mother, acting a certain way or the father acting a certain way and say, man, you just like your mama, you just like your daddy. And it's kind of brushed off because it's like, it becomes a norm. Like you act just like your mama, you act just like your daddy. Well, their mom and their daddy needed some therapy. They needed some, some help. So it's like they missed it. Don't let him miss her miss it at the same time. But when it comes to mental health month, because this is a month of May, why a month?
It's always good to have a month like this, especially in this time period, because a lot of people feel it's like to the point y'all been saying. A lot of people feel closed up. They feel closed inside. They feel like they shouldn't go and talk about whatever they're going through, or they feel like they should just buckle down, just push through it. No sort of analyzing within themselves. No sort of sitting down with themselves. And really feeling that, hey, I'm depressed, I'm stressed, I'm in pain. What can I do about this? So having a month is like, okay, now I feel, included with this month. Now I feel like I could get up and go and do something rather than just being, just buckled down and sticking with my negative emotion. So I feel like it's a good month of inclusive, just being inclusive and letting one another know that, it's all right to, vent. It's all right to get your stress out, and it's all right to, take charge and building yourself up into, being a happier person.
What's one of the main factors that a youth endure comes to depression? What is one of the main factors that leads a youth to depress?
One of the main factors, let's see, because there's a couple, but yeah. I guess you already know social media. I feel like more than ever, a lot of youth don't know. Like I'll talk about the gut to brain connection. A lot of youth don't have a proper diet, or a lot of them don't grow up on proper food. Back in, let's say, the 50s, they had, this sort of guideline. Nowadays, kids will eat rice and one singular chicken wing, and that won't necessarily do anything for their body. And that when it comes into your gut, that will build a whole bunch of bad bacteria. And when that bacteria sends that connection to your brain, now you're constantly in this stress or depressed state just automatically based off of that improper diet. So I believe diet is one too.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
That's a great point. All that contributes to your mental.
Mhm.
You see why you eat and you eat better. You're always reading all the ingredients and everything.
That entirely should in it. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I think that really came from studying and my parents too, because I remember growing up, couldn't eat gelatin or anything. And now I'm reading all sorts of ingredients and stuff. I'm like, "Dang, this is poisonous for the body. It's not helping it's not helping my body regular or anything." So like now I'm looking out at the youth at our generation. It's like, wow, that's really crazy.
It is.
That's very, very vital.
So you are what you eat. There's a lot more to that than on the surface.
But you see that the one thing our community is conscious of concerning that right there is when they do go to a doctor, the first thing the doctor tell them is, hey, you need to cut this product out of your diet. So they understand the correlation between how you feel from what you eat. Because they'll say, oh, that child's so hyper because you've been feeding them all these sugar products. Or he's been eating all that chocolate.
Yep.
So they understand it. It's just that we discard it.
Yep.
We take it as normal because everybody is doing it. Okay, he eat a little chocolate, he gets hyper, but everybody else don't get like that. So he's just an isolated case. So we don't really research why our diet affects the way we think. We don't understand that when I eat a certain product, what it does to different parts of my brain.
Yep.
Which causes me to act in a certain manner. It's just like the medication. When you get the medication, so especially people with the mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolarism, if they don't take their medication, you can see it in their behavior. And you'll say, oh, he ain't on his meds, or she not taking her meds. But when they're taking the meds, it causes a different reaction in the brain.
Yep.
So we have to understand that what is placed in our body is what creates our thought process to make us better or to make us worse. And I think that disconnection came from the church of teachings about, oh, it's not what goes in the body that defiles you, but what comes out. They got that in reverse because it's actually what goes in it. If you ingest some type of cyanide or some bad spoiled food and you get food poisoning, you wouldn't say the food poisoning came from within. You're going to say it was from what you ate. And you're going to avoid that particular restaurant.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to speak to Yikiziki's point on that one. Nowadays it's a very big term, and people say, what are they? It's called what would Christ do? But now if they observed him and his lifestyle and his diet, they're not doing what he did. They're doing something different because he actually ate a particular way, but they don't eat the way that he did. But they say, what would he do? But you're doing the opposite. Things that make you go,
Right. Just thinking back, when we like growing up, one of the things I heard, and maybe you brother can share as well, boys don't supposed to cry. You're being a punk. They would say, boys don't supposed to cry. You being a punk when someone is crying. And then a lot of us were taught to just pray. Everything will be all right. Just pray about it. Just pray about it. We still talk about that even today.
but we did talk about that a little bit as far as faith versus therapy, and just understanding that there is a part of faith that we do need to embrace, but there's a more extensive scale of psychology, mental health, that now psychology the psychology stage kick in, because the person can be on another level when it comes to that. So we did cover that part, but a lot of people listening are dealing with stress every day and don't even realize how much it affects them. So you want to speak on that? But let me ask you this, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
What are the biggest mental health struggles college students face today?
I say one of the biggest. Well, first is I believe it's money, and paying for college, but it's also sometimes students, they can feel academically missing the word, but sometimes they feel like they have a certain
Academic
threshold.
pressure.
Academic pressure, there you go.
Mhm.
They have a certain threshold, and they want to reach a maximum. They want to do this, they want to get all A's, they want to push for this, and they're constantly working. And some students, they might actually have an actual job, because you have to pay for it. Some students don't have that strong support, so they're working, and then they're studying, and then they're working and studying, and that can lead to a certain depression. It could lead to stress. It could lead to them being sleep deprived. It could lead to them even falling out randomly one day in public.
Right, burnout.
Yep, burning out. Exactly. Yep, that's what it leads to.
Yes, sir. Indeed. And I was just thinking about it from an emotional standpoint, because emotions is a part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Being a human, you have to go through emotions.
Exactly.
But why do you think like we suppress our emotions when it comes to like mental health? Because like you're talking about a college student.
Mhm.
Most of the time, you have a conversation with them. They may not acquiesce to any of the stuff that we're saying, as far as depriving their sleep, or
Mhm.
having financial issues. Sometimes people just don't talk about that type of stuff because they feel embarrassed. So why is that one of the reasons why they suppress their emotions and don't want to communicate like that? Have you seen that with your peers? Have you talked to anyone
I,
that may
be-
be going through something like that?
I believe I have a friend, and he always calls me like anything. I let him know he can call me anything, so he constantly vents to me. But yeah, getting back to that point, I believe in college, a lot of people, or just in general, even out of college, a lot of people work so hard to the point in which they won't acknowledge themselves. They'll just work hard, come home, sleep, and they won't like really feel their emotion. And a lot of other people are like, okay, I don't want to throw my stress onto someone else. Let me buckle down. Let me charge through this by myself. So I feel like those are the two ways people really go about handling it, or just go through it in general.
Okay. All right. I know we coming to the top of the hour. I think we have a few more minutes.
A quick question, Jeremiah, because I know you're UCF, and that's actually a very fine institution. And with you and some of your peers, with the pressures that come, not the benefits, but the pressures that come with college, do they have any outlets for you all there to deal with some of these issues?
Oh yeah, so they always have. I believe at the beginning of the semester, or even when you're talking through to your advisor, they'll always give you notice. Or I remember when I scheduled an appointment with one of my advisors. They're asking me about my period. About my semester, and basically they're asking, how's your mental health doing? How are you holding up? Do you need any help outside of just classes? Et cetera, et cetera. Just making sure I was good. So I believe advisors really giving that guideline to students, and UCF really sending us emails, letting us know that if you're going through a mental health crisis, et cetera, you can always reach out to anyone on campus. We're happy and we're here to help you. I believe just doing those two things is really good and necessary for all the students that are going there.
I have one, maybe two more questions for you
Yeah.
before we get into. because I really wanted you to kind of chime in on this. And this question came in and it says, what is the absolute most unhelpful thing to regularly say to someone who is struggling?
I believe this comes back to my other point. I said I knew um there might be a question similar to that. It's back to that toxic positivity. You can't give someone they're struggling. You can't give them toxic positivity. You can't let them know. I mean, I know you're struggling or going through this, but at least you're not going through the maximum of what's going on in your life. That's back to my point earlier. That's not going to help someone necessarily get them out of that negative mindset. Instead giving them words of encouragement, letting them know that you here, letting them know that it's okay for them, to really temporarily feel like this because we all have our ups and downs, etc. But yeah, just reaching out, letting them know, giving them better words of encouragement rather than giving them that toxic positivity.
So don't try to give them no type of advice. Just let them know like, hey, got a shoulder that you can lean on.
Yeah, letting them know that and letting them know like if you got a situation similar to theirs, you can sort of sympathize with, so that can lower their cortisol a little bit.
So they'll be able to receive what. Okay. So and that probably went to my next question because it was, what can we do to better help someone or help one another?
I believe two of the things when I think about that question is charity and showing gratitude towards one another, and being able to really walk past a person and really acknowledge them. You may throw out a compliment or so. Just being a better community rather than this negative community that we had where we'll just walk past a person. It's almost like we just ignore each other. And, back to biological anthropology, like that's inconceivable to the past Homo, let's say Homo erectus. That's before Homo sapiens, which is what we are. Like that's inconceivable to them. Like they'll have to acknowledge them not acknowledging each other is, like I said, sort of that's what leads to depression in a sort of way.
All right. And as your brothers have some, before we close out this part, I want you to, unless our brother Yiki, you got something for us today?
Oh no, we can finish speaking with him.
Okay. All right. So we'll go to a commercial. Reckon we'll come back and continue the topic.
Because Scott and Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott and Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right, so welcome back. We're going to continue the topic that we was on, and today, again, family, if you're just joining us, we're with Jeremiah Scott. He is a student at UCF. He is currently active in studying psychology, and since we're in the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, we want to just bring him on and just, let him share with what he has already studied so far. And when it comes to psychology and mental health and therapy in our community. And so this part here, we're going to try to just highlight some things that we can use, when it comes to mental health. We're going to talk about the solution side of it. We know
We deal with mental health in our community, and oftentimes we don't know it. We're not aware of it, and even when we become aware, we want to ignore it because we don't want to sound like we're crazy, So, so we want to talk about, maybe some signs of when a person need mental health. Um, I don't know how much study you did around as far as what it would cost the community. Is there insurance involved that people can take advantage of? I don't know if you have did any of that research as of yet. I don't know if my brothers have looked into that, even dealing with family members that we have closely. But just what's one healthy habit everybody should practice?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that cost and insurance area of the question. That's really interesting. I had to get into it, but just something on the surface that everyone can do. In this society, our parasympathetic nervous system is constantly irregulated to the point where it causes our nervous system to be constantly active. So we'll be out of a grocery store and we'll be stressing our nervous system will be going crazy inside of a grocery store, maybe a bookshop or anywhere, and our nervous system is just irregulated. So one of the things that you can do to regulate that better, to just to be more calm and to be more assured, you can do what I do personally. It's called 5.5 or 5.5 breathing. You can search up a quick video. Just doing that for 5 minutes a day, that will like cure half of your stress. It will cure half of your just depression. It's gonna make you more calmer when situations pop up in your life, negative situations. You won't just completely or entirely spiral out of control. You'll sit with it first and you'll actually view what you can do about the situation. So just and another breathing technique that I used to do is called box breathing. So it'll be 4 count in, you'll inhale for 4, hold for 4, and then you'll exhale for 4, and then you'll hold for 4. And this just like a cycle. And that just simply doing those breathing exercises regulates that parasympathetic nervous system and it keeps you more calm and assured.
Hey, all right. Hey, I'm learning something here. You brothers have some?
Most definitely, breathing is beautiful.
Mhm.
One of the things that can distract you is exercising. When you feel frustrated, you feel angry, because you have to understand that emotions are an effect. Something calls you to be happy, something calls you to be sad. So emotions are based on your value system, the lines you got drawn in the sand, the laws that govern who you are. So when you see you're about to get stressed out or becoming stressed out, how do you deal with it? You can start exercising. You can start writing down what's causing you to be stressed out and what can you do to overcome this, so that when those warning signs come, you already have a system in play to how to stop it before it hit full-blown depression.
Mhm.
So yes, you have to come up and exercising, whether it just be getting up, walking around outside, walking around your house, just something to change the flow, even if it just means moving from one room to another room.
Exactly.
People deal with stress in different ways, and a lot of it is unhealthy. Some people eat, some people binge on TV shows. So you have to create something that's beneficial for you, because as you said earlier, it's about conflict resolutions. How do you resolve when this stress begins to flood me? And we know that in this society, money is the number one stress causer, or the lack of it
Yep.
is the number one stress causer. So how do we deal with that? Because if I'm depressed, then I'm in a state of mind to where I can't generate ideas that will produce more wealth for me to get me out of my current situation, so that I won't have to be stressed out, which leads to the depression. So we have to begin to come up with ways to think our way out of our situation, because it begins and ends with our way of thinking. And as the king said, as a person thinks, that's who they are. So if I thought my way in this situation, I can think my way out of it.
Yep.
And we know that the body, as you alluded to earlier, with the gut and the brain, they're congruent with one another. If the body is sick, the mind is going to function at a low capacity, and vice versa. So we have to be able to see the signs and already have something in play. It's like with the weather, when they see the signs that a hurricane is coming, they already have a system to where, okay, get your sandbags, get your water, get this. They already have that system in play to be able to protect yourself. So you got to be able to protect your most valuable asset, which is your mind.
Yep.
And being that this is mental health month, we definitely got to be conscious of how do we take this from being a month to a day-to-day thing, because stress is a day-to-day situation.
Yeah, and I would totally agree how he brought that out about stress. And a thing to do is to recognize mental health, or to recognize an issue, first of all, in yourself, to be able to acknowledge it and say, it's okay if you're going through something, or if it's someone near you or close to you, acknowledge that they are going through something and that is normal, not to stigmatize it or to like deactivate it, but just acknowledge it, because the way this you can't solve something unless you acknowledge it. And like breathing is a great exercise, or with stress is like you, or living life. I like to say, like, you have a zeal, which is kind of like if you look at that as the flame that keeps you going. You should always keep your flame going, but you have to be able to regulate the flame. So, like if you were at work, you can be in a stressful situation, or driving, you can get into a stressful situation, and then you'll turn that flame up. But acknowledging that sometimes it's best to think about what's the best way to deal with a situation. Because if you keep your flame at high all the time, that's kind of a good way to, you can burn your engine up if you run it. The RPMs are too high all the time. You need to change gears and slow it down a little bit. So it's like if something is stressing you, you don't want to deal with a combative situation, because it's like that's why your blood pressure is going up. You're gonna blow a gasket, like driving. If y'all been in Florida, we have some horrible drivers, but it's not worth the stress, which people having road rage. And then the next thing is somebody's pulling out a gun and you getting ready to shoot someone because they made a right turn, or they were going too slow, or they were going too fast. Because that flame I'm talking about, if you keep it up too high, you bring it, like they say, bring it down a notch, because it's really not that important. It really isn't. But that's acknowledging your mental health. Acknowledge that we're living beings and we have mental issues that we deal with. That don't mean we crazy. What that means is we're living people, and the way you deal with it.
Indeed. And I know you said breathing, which is definitely one of those things. What other things that you use to decompress?
Just one other thing I learned, in the brain, you have this specific part called your amygdala, and basically that's the brain's stress center. And in this society, just to give an explanation of the amygdala, your amygdala activates like with our ancestors. It activated when we were like deep in the dark forest, and we'd be on alert for like predators and in the forest. So our amygdala will constantly be activated throughout that time, scanning out for predators, making sure that we were safe. but we don't need our amygdala activated if we're in a grocery store or if we're in a bookstore or on campus, etc. We don't need to activate it at all because there's there's no predators, no animals constantly out there to get us. But if it's activated, that's sending you in a sort of just a highly stressed state. And one of the ways that you can get your amygdala down is just simply by because when you close your eyes, you enter a meditative state. And you want to lower your brain waves, like, because our brain waves too are constantly in this state. The higher state of our brain waves is gamma, and that's when we're constantly thinking, we're constantly trying to problem solve. But it's hard to problem solve when you have so much on your mind, and especially when you have your amygdala activated. So it's important to, just when you feel it activated or when you feel yourself highly stressed, to just first, close your eyes. That's automatically going to, shift you towards that meditative state. And then pairing that with breathing is going to get your parasympathetic nervous system regulated. And it's also going to calm your amygdala down to let it know that, you're not in any sort of immediate danger. And that's just going to help you further analyze what you can do, or even an answer might come to you, when your brain is quiet. So you definitely want to regulate. I'd say those are two of the most important things to regulate. As I'm learning, I may bring out other things, but yeah.
I'm gonna try to go back and repeat that word because I might mess it up. I got to visualize it to be able to actually
amygdala.
Because one of the things when you were saying that, I'm thinking about spider senses. We came up. It's like our spider senses.
Yeah, basically in a way.
But no, and then I think this will be our final. We get ready to close out. What would be a good practice for someone that may be struggling, or someone that's, I need to check in with my mental. Like, how would someone check in with their mental, and then what would be a good practice for them?
I believe meditation is one of the best ways to check in when you're mental. When you're sitting there and you're quiet and you're just breathing, you can view those thoughts come into your mind. And meditation, of course, it's more of a viewing thing. A lot of people will, of course, won't get that in the first half. Some people may spin out, they may argue with their thoughts mid meditation, but the more and more you do it, you can do your thoughts, you can write it down, and you confront that which you have been suppressing, basically, in a way. And you really do have to get that out, because you don't want much suppressed within you, because all that which is suppressed within you eventually comes out, so it may come out when you're highly stressing, that may cause just a deep spin out, a deep spiral, because now all of that which you've been suppressing, it's came out. So, meditation is what can help you, jot it out and slowly get all that which you have been suppressing out of you on paper. That could just better help you regulate yourself and your emotions better. Just that practice.
Okay. We get to get ready to close it out. I'll start with one of you brothers, Brother Ezekiel. Any the last words?
Yes, sir. This is Mental Health Month. So begin to see ways that you can regulate where you're at mentally and what needs to be done to get you where you want to be. Peace.
Yes, sir. You understand?
Yeah, and for Mental Health Month, hey, let's see, we're talking about healing. What can we do to restore ourselves to a better place? Let's work on restoring ourselves back to a better place.
All right. You want to leave a last word?
Yeah, I'll leave a last message. Yeah, just we definitely have to wake up and stop being ignorant to this problem, to those who are ignorant, and we just basically we have to confront it, because that's what's going to lead to a better and a more peaceful, positive society and community.
All right. And I say this here, healing, because healing was our word of the day. Healing doesn't make you weak. Asking for help doesn't make you broke. It doesn't, make you broken.
Yeah.
But mental health matters, especially in our community. And I say, from the host, Peace and Prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out. Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook,
Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.